Listen, this is going to sound weird, but this is going to help you so much, all right? What you need to do is you need to start turning towards and watching your failures in slow motion. You want the slow motion replay of every single time that you fail. Hey, I'm Shane from activegrowth.com, and I got to share this with you because, look, one of the reasons why I've been making all these videos about productivity, and about productivity in the sense of actually getting meaningful work done, not just working more, right, but actually making meaningful progress, is think about this. Think about how many people there are who are pursuing the creation of a business of their own, of some entrepreneurial thing. Right? Think about how many people there are who are doing, e-commerce, drop shipping, online courses, selling ebooks, fulfillment by Amazon, services, SaaS software, just everything, right? So many people are pursuing this stuff. And think about how many people bought the 4-hour work week and read about the Muse, which is the term used there for like a business that, pays for your lifestyle, that you own and that doesn't take up all your time. Think about how many people read about that and were like, yes, I'm going to do that. And how many of them have failed? Because this is the thing, right? This is with entrepreneurship, right? Everybody knows most businesses fail within the first few years. Most people who start, the thing is, we know the statistics about the businesses that fail, but most people don't even get to the point where they actually have a business that can fail, right? Most people fail long before that. And we make a huge mistake when it comes to this failure, because what we usually do is we're kind of embarrassed about it and we try to ignore it and turn away from it. Here's what I mean. Think about this process. This happens so often to so many people. Someone will decide, okay, this is what I want, and they will start pursuing information about how do I become a successful entrepreneur? How do I build a business? How do I generate income for myself? Let's go specific, right? They will do some research. They maybe find some expensive course or something, which is like, here's the, the drop shipping lifestyle freedom course or whatever. They will watch that sales message, that sales material, and become convinced, yes, this is it. They see all the examples of people who have made hundreds of thousands of dollars using this system. And they're like, yes, that's going to be me. And they get to the point where they're willing to pay a lot of money to learn this, right? So that they have to kind of convince themselves and become convinced of this future vision. This is going to be me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to master this thing, and I'm going to have my own business. And they pay for that course, and they start taking the course, and then something goes wrong, because most people who will take that course will not end up with one of those businesses. And let's assume that the course itself is fine, right? Because sometimes the course is just trash. But let's assume that the course contains a lot of information that is valid. That's like, okay, here's how to build a business. And most people will not even consume the whole course. They will not even go through all the lessons. Like, something goes wrong. And so that plan of the future where you're running this business and you're doing this thing and you have this freedom and this money somehow dies. And it's kind of embarrassing, right? And at some point in the future, you come across another thing, maybe a book, maybe a course, maybe something that again makes you go, this time. And here's what I mean, right? We kind of turn away from our failure. We're like, well, that's the old me. Maybe you have some excuses, but this is the new me. This time I'm going to do it. I'm using the example of an expensive course here because that's an upfront commitment even, right? Because of course the same is true for books, for example. There's plenty of books that will explain to you how to build a business. And nothing in the book is, wrong or misleading. Like, if you do those things, you'll end up with a business. Of course, there's a lot of work, right? There's a lot of skill development involved, but you can do it. It's principally possible to do this. But then again, most people will buy that, be convinced they're going to do this, and then something happens that makes them change their minds, not pursue this, not implement this. And think about, how many unfinished courses and books and ebooks do you have? I'm pretty sure that everyone watching this has done this in the past. Let's just call this the implementation problem. And it's a very typical, very common problem, right? The problem isn't that we don't have enough information or not enough access to information or not the right strategy or whatever. The problem is we can be given the best advice in the world and we don't implement it. And I think, in fact, exercise and diet is probably the best example of this, because who wouldn't like to look better naked? I think we're all deeply motivated to look good naked. And if the market and all the marketing that's done for lose weight this and bikini body that and so on, if this market is any indication, then it's really very, very widely something that we want. And well, how do you do that? How do you look better naked? It's pretty simple. We basically all know how to do this, right? Basically only eat actual non-processed, non-trash food and eat like moderate amounts of it and spend an hour or two a day exercising, right? It's like almost no matter what the specifics of that stuff is. If you do those things, that gets you the result. We all know that. But how many of us implement that, right? That's the implementation problem. Like, why don't we do the thing that leads us to the result that we want? And here's the super important thing that I want to tell you. When it comes to goals like this, for most of us, we can look back at a long string of failures, right? Saying to ourselves, I'm going to do it, and then we don't do it. And we can turn that string of failures into an advantage for ourselves. But we have to stop turning away from our failures, because that point of failure, that is your opportunity for the greatest learning. See, we generally, like I say, turn away from it and kind of go in denial about it. We like to think that, that was my old self, there were reasons for that, we make excuses, and I'm not really like that, and this time I'm going to do it. And we really deny ourselves a great opportunity to learn from our mistakes. And this is what I mean by saying, look at your failure in slow motion. Like, really take that apart. The things that happen in between, like in between deciding to take that one course to start building your business, and then at some point in the future, starting again, deciding to take another course. What happens in between there? That is the most important stuff. Like, go through that. This is the thing that I want to see the slow motion replay of from all angles. I want to put this under a microscope and look exactly at why am I failing? What are the exact steps that happen that are the implementation problem for me? Right? Where do I fail at this without being like self-judging, without being, oh, I'm such a failure, oh my God, I'm worthless, right? That's not the point. It's like, look at it like a scientist. Look at it as if you're looking at someone else's life, and your job is to figure out, what is this person doing that makes them fail in the same way over and over again? And how can we fix that? Let's be honest here. We both done this many times before. And the solution to this problem is not going to be in the next book we read or the next course we take, right? Because the next book or course is just going to be another roadmap, another series of steps that we could follow, and it would work eventually. And we're not going to. We're going to fail again for the same reasons, right? We're going to get in our own way for the same reasons as we've done in the past. And so by looking at that and deconstructing that, that is where we really find the next thing we need to learn, right? It's not in a book, it's in our past failures. So how do you do this? Once again, I have been harping on about this a little bit in previous videos, but once again, writing, introspective writing is the tool to do this. So here's the specific thing I invite you to do. Think about the last time this happened to you. Think about the last time the implementation problem happened to you, where you went from this version of yourself that was convinced, yes, I'm going to do it, yes, I'm going to get the result, to the version of yourself that had abandoned those goals. What happened in between? And write about that. Try to remember in exact detail what happened. And don't simply feed yourself your own excuses and accept that, right? Don't accept your own bullshit here. You're not doing yourself any favors by doing that. Really try to dig into what exactly happened. What are the things that happen here that prevent me from doing the things that I set out to do that I want, right? And there's no recipe, there's no quick fix here. I'm not saying, oh, you write down, you answer these 2 questions and then you'll never make this mistake again. No, this is a process. You start deconstructing how you fail. You start deconstructing your own process, how you fail to implement. And you start picking it apart. You write about this again and again, and you find possible reasons, possible things that you can try tweaking, possible things that you can try adjusting so that you'll do better next time. My main point here is to start looking at the times you fail as an opportunity to learn. You can get so much out of this if you start paying close attention. And this is how we make the process that I talked about in my previous video about how to be stubborn about the right things. This is one approach to do that, right? In order to figure out how do I keep myself on track? How do I make sure that I stubbornly pursue things in a productive way, right? But I don't bang my head against the wall. I don't bounce from one idea to another. I have to find that balance, right? This is one of the ways to do it. You can look at how have I failed in the past? What are the things I can do differently next time? Even if you're not sure whether it's going to work, right? Do anything differently next time and see if you get a better result. And over time, this is a way in which you can kind of apply this flexibility, where you have a strategy and you tweak it over time, you see what happens. You do that with persistence and you will get results. Listen, I challenge you to do this. I challenge you to do this because this is not easy. It's one of those things that, like I said, there's no like recipe, there's no 3-step process to fixing this problem. This is one of those things that if you do it persistently and you're willing to do this kind of difficult internal work, this will pay off in the long term. And it's very easy to ignore this. This is one of these types of advice that, to be honest, I love, right? Where it's like, this is not like sexy 5 steps to result kind of advice. So it's very easy to find more attractive and much less effective advice. But if you take this challenge, if you do this, this will make a difference. So that's my challenge to you. And leave me a comment below. If you have any questions about this or any thoughts to share about this process, leave a comment below. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this as well.